everybody, welcome back to Gunfire Reborn. We are in the mid-season update for Season 5. We just had this drop a couple days ago. I've already been labbing things out, so I wanted to give you my thoughts and feelings on things before you jumped into it. The first things I want to talk about are the changes to Xing Zhe. Is it Xing Zhe? The monkey. They completely changed how his essence chain works for the most part. As far as the dealing damage, the whip still goes out, it still chains off of enemies, that's it. But the soul essence part of it doesn't work the same way anymore. Instead of extracting their souls to enhance your weapon for 6 seconds, you now extract their souls to enhance your weapon by gaining a stack of ki for each enemy affected by the essence chain up to 6 stacks. So instead of it being a thing that happens at a set amount for a set duration, you get a stack of resources, and then those stacks are consumed for each shot or hit of Cudgel. It's not the use of Cudgel, it's each hit of it. And each stack of ki will give you +1 temporary level. So higher highs, but lower lows. Now, in order to make this change, they had to go through a lot of his stuff, as you might imagine, and have to change it. So I'm going to quickly just knock out all of these things. If you want to look in more detail for yourself, just open up the patch notes and look at it. But basically, we're going to be getting things that give us more key stacks and more stuff from the key. So whenever you get this talent proficient trick, you're going to get extra ki up to 2 stacks from hitting the same enemy twice. This one's going to give you more weapon levels per ki stack instead of what it did before. When you have inscriptions from the monkey's passive ability, it's now going to be active anytime you have any amount of ki stacks. Your temporary weapon level 1, that's going to go away. Instead, you just have a % chance to get extra stacks of ki. Lucky shot chance for so many shots, that's gone. You're getting more ki capacity, so higher temporary weapon levels, and even more at level 3 based off of your ascension level. Max shield, that's going to stick around. The only thing that's different about this one is it says participating in defeating an enemy, which I think is going to be a new keyword they'll have going forward, because I'm seeing participating show up in a couple places on here. Keep a lookout for that, but I think that just means that hitting an enemy, but not having to get the last hit. And then the big one here, the huge change that I'm looking forward to, is this blessing right here. The weapon mastery is now going to be primordial unity. We're getting rid of all of those like flat bonuses you got to weapons, and instead it's going to double your ki capacity, which is pretty big. Starting out at 6 and going to 12 already means you can get potentially a +12 weapon level right off rip, which is pretty insane. And then 5% lucky shot chance per weapon level. So without even doing anything with ki, you're already going to get 100% lucky shot for every 20 levels that you get. That screams to me that it can be busted pretty quickly. Now, if you can get like a low fire rate weapon and stack up ki on top of that, I think we're going to see some pretty insane numbers come out of this with lucky shot bonuses. On top of that, they couldn't have worded this any worse. If you hit your max ki stacks, it's going to remove 1/6 of them and then give you extra lucky shot per stack that it consumed. So getting this to max, it's going to immediately drop back down a lot whenever you shoot, but it should do a lot of lucky shot. And I've got an idea for how I'm going to use this. Okay, so I started a monkey run just so that I can try to find the best case scenario for making the ki stacks work. I currently have a bone dragon, just because it is a low magazine count sort of weapon like I mentioned, and I'm trying to pump it up as much as I can with ki. I used the spiritual blessing that I mentioned that doubles your capacity, gives you a bunch of lucky shot. Oh, excuse me. And as you can see, we've got some pretty big red numbers. Those red numbers are pretty good. Now I got Final Judgment and a couple other things that might be affecting the damage numbers a bit. But this is pretty easy to manage as far as keeping your ki stacks up. You can shoot that out and then do your whip to get your ki stacks back while it's still going off. So I think the Bone Dragon or the Justice could be really good with this setup. I have gotten a few lucky shot things as far as my scrolls go, but nothing major. I haven't gotten like an enhanced reasonable luck or anything like that. So this is mostly just the lucky shot coming off of the weapon, which does have 90% on it. Look at that, a lucky shot 50 and 40, so that's pretty good. And I did get my talisman up to legendary, and I have some lucky shot on the talisman as well. Lucky bullet doesn't stack with itself, but if you have different rarities of it, those will stack. So if I had a legendary lucky bullet, rare lucky bullet, and normal lucky bullet, I could have each one of those on here to make the next shot that much bigger. I did interdependent fortunes on this, and I did end up with the birds after reloading your next few shots of extra weapon damage and lucky shot and don't consume ammo. So if you're wondering why I'm not having to reload that often, it's because of that. Alright, and that guy instantly died too. I don't think I've ever seen the Mandrill Cavalries die going straight from the first part to the second. Oh, hey look, hail of bullets. There we go. That's what I was talking about. Enhancement Lover on this character with this build would go insane. And remember, our key stacks get bigger the higher our ascension is. So this build can scale into the end game because as you continue to fight act bosses and get yourself more golden goblets, you're going to be able to get more key. Oh, where's my rock? Now, it's not going to be that much, but considering I'm getting 50 stacks right now, I don't think it needs to be that much more. And there you go. Not bad at all. The lucky shot on the bone dragon's pretty good. Probably a couple of the other explosive weapons would be fine for it. Maybe some shotguns as well. It just sucks that he went from being a pretty good generalized weapon character to being reduced in scope down to things that are more single shot, low magazine. There were a couple other changes that are notable. Flowing Light, the lightning sword. Now when you charge it up, it has a huge range. It went from having a 7-meter range to a 16-meter range, which means it's more than double the length. And if you charge it up, it attacks 5 times instead of 3. So the holding down the right click on the sword now, really good. Feels amazing, so I'm glad they did that. And the Bone Dragon's been changed. It does significantly less damage, but it hits multiple times before exploding. So if you look here, it used to pull in enemies for a second and then explode. Now it continuously pulls in enemies for 2 seconds with a stronger pull and explodes every half second. So you're getting 4 explosions and longer crowd control. The little bit I've played with the Bone Dragon so far, this is great. I love this. Keep more of this. It makes the Bone Dragon feel better. You charge up, you put down black holes everywhere, it's constantly exploding. It means it's got a better chance of proccing multi-hit things. Fantastic, love it. Now to do some of the stuff that is specific to Season 5. They just did this update to add in affixes to talismans. So if you come in here, you will now see a new button underneath of your talisman. Right now this says default, do not bring in affix set. What this means is in a run, if you get a talisman up to legendary, it will be given 3 random affixes, just like guns do. Guns have those inscriptions on them. Those are affixes for guns. These ones are specific to talismans. I've got a set here to look at. You can have your power gems trigger an extra time, trigger the effect of power gems in the second slot every couple of seconds. This one is an exclusive, which means it's specific to the wild talisman, and it reduces the reload time and increases the capacity for the special ammo magazine. So I'm doing a run. I just got my last stack for notch talismans out of the general pack, and I upgraded to a legendary Unleashed Talisman. This now has 3 random affixes given to it. They're a rare and 2 common ones. We got some talisman cooldown, so you can see they already factored that in here. It was at 4 seconds, but now it says 3.7. Not terrible. Also, I've got another spot for things, so why don't we throw something in there? And now that we have a legendary talisman, there is another new mechanic you need to know about, which is on the peddler, you can reforge your affixes. What's required to do this is, of course, having a legendary talisman, so there is something to reroll, and then another talisman of the same type. The Notch talisman upgrades into the Unleashed, so they count as 2 of the same kind. You can see I can't take this Loop or Rapid Fire. They do not have the identical name, even though, I mean, this name, not the same, but you see what they mean. Now here's a couple things we could do here. First of all, put in a material. If you have a common talisman, it's going to give you 1 reroll to choose between. So you'll have the one that you started with and the one that's being rerolled. If you use a rare talisman, you'll get 2 options, and the affixes will be of higher quality. And then if you have 2 legendaries combined, then you get 3 options to choose from, and generally some really good choices. So just to show you how this is on this run, I'm gonna put in this one, and you can see we've got little locks here. If you like one of the affixes you have, or 2 of them, you can lock them in and keep them from rerolling. Now, usually I like to go for purples and uniques, so let's just reforge this and see what we get. And we got a talisman cooldown after triggering gems 18 times. That's not a whole lot. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on here. So after I do 3 activations, this is going to be given a 10% reduction. Once that happens 2 more times, the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, then it's going to be at 30% reduction. The trigger condition requirement is almost a 5th lower, and then we get some bonuses to the damage if we have the Thunder and Meteor on. So we're going to take that, hit confirm, and then look at this. So right now we don't have any stacks on here, so it's back to 4 seconds. The trigger requirement is a 5th down, so we're at 2 seconds, that's 0.2 seconds, 0.4 seconds, so it's like 1.6 seconds on this auto charge. And we're looking pretty good, I think. If you want to get the best talisman that you can get, you want to get as many other high quality talismans. Purples seem fine, blues don't normally seem worth it, and getting multiple legendaries together is the best way to get a really good roll. But if you can get like 2 or 3 purples and then lock in ones that you want, it's not too bad. But if you're going for the best, probably multiple legendaries. When you get to the end of a run and you have legendary talismans, you can save 1 set of affixes to keep for your next run. I tried doing a bizarre dream where I played and played and played. I got like 3 or 4 legendary talismans where I wanted them, and I thought I was saving each one to a slot, but it only saved the last one that I looked at. I've done a couple of these. I did this one on stream earlier today. This is the Galaxy one that has the spiral arms on it. This one has rare gems have a chance to trigger 2 additional times. The exclusive for Spiral Arm is that it doubles the number of arms, but reduces the damage by 40%. So mathematically, more damage. And it reduces the trigger condition requirement. So whatever this is, reduces that by the amount. So that's a pretty good one. I've got a couple of these Meteor ones. They've got some pretty nice stacks on them. The thing I would tell you to look for in most cases is reducing the cooldown of the talisman. When doing all of Season 5, usually the thing that is what opens up the most damage or capability that your talismans can do is reducing the cooldown time. Some of these that won't matter for, like this charge talisman, it's already at 1 second. So reducing the cooldown on that doesn't do a whole lot for you. So I wouldn't be looking for cooldown on the charge talisman, but outside of that, getting extra triggers on power gems is nice. Getting the exclusive inscription on these is nice. My personal feelings on this is that talismans were already incredibly strong. Let's be honest, they introduced reincarnation level 10 with this season, and doing any of the talismans on reincarnation level 10 just kind of trivializes it. Maybe your experience is different than mine, but I feel like these things just blow the game open. It's fun. I enjoy it. I've been having a great time, but it definitely makes the game a cakewalk. I'm going to give you a couple of setups now that will make the game super easy. If you're having any troubles with beating Reincarnation and you want to beat it easily, here's a couple of them that are easy to do. I think I said easy like 100 times there. All right, since I'm on the Charge Talisman, I think the one that everyone could immediately grasp here is Lee. Lee has her primary Fireball Kamehameha move, and the Charge Talisman constantly triggers. Again, 1 second cooldown, so it's very fast. And since Lee gets a lot of bonuses from fire, you'll want to put on Meteor, because Meteor does fire damage. So if you go into the match, I usually do this setup where I put on everything but the arsenal. I don't really care for the arsenal that much personally, but you know, to each their own. Since we're doing elemental damage, Painkiller's not a bad idea. Ultimate Gambler's good. Copycat's good. Fake Death or Battle Scar just for survivability is nice. Any of those could be good, but I'm gonna just put on Painkiller and we're gonna quickly just do like a bit of Act 1 to show you just how strong this can be. I normally play with Lone Wolf because the power you get from having an additional blessing usually outweighs having to play with 2 players worth of enemies. And perfect. Extra Slot has been my go-to spiritual remnant for this entire season. Extra Slot gives you an extra power gem slot on your talisman, and it gives you the auto trigger condition that goes off every 4, 3, or 2 seconds based on talisman quality. This thing is amazing. Just getting an extra power gem to go off gives you a lot of extra damage on there. It can help out with your survivability. It gives you the option to put on that crystal shield or the emergency recovery, or you can just get more damage. And for the talismans that don't have locked in conditions on them, this automatic generating one is pretty fantastic. Even at 4 seconds, a lot of those are perfectly timed with the talisman cooldown themselves. So if your talisman's got a 4-second cooldown and you put this in, you weren't going to get a faster cooldown reduction anyway. So that's already good. I'll take a Starfly though, I'll just let it do some extra damage. And we come in here, we've got our charge, we've got our charge strike. This could help if I cared at all about actually doing weapon or skill damage, but I don't. Press this, and you'll see that the charge is going off all the time. And on top of that, if we were to ever need to use this bonus, it increases the final damage of the charge skill by 20% per stack. So the longer we just let this build up, the better it gets. Enemies spawn in. Look. It just destroys them. Almost none of your ascensions matter other than the fire damage one. It's very, very easy to do very good with this. Because you gotta imagine this Crystal Shield, if you didn't see what Crystal Shield does, you gain a stack of Crystal Shield, each stack will block damage once and be immune to damage for a 1/5 of a second after blocking it. This does a lot of heavy lifting for survivability. I'm just gonna come over here. The meteors drop so rapidly that things just cannot spawn in time. And you don't have to shoot, you don't have to, I'm not even like dodging, dashing, or anything like that. We're just going for a walk. Now, I have Starfly. Starfly is a pretty amazing thing to get with this, which, by the way, little tidbit, hit X, and you'll put it onto auto. Here's another little tidbit. When you come into a wave room, if you don't walk out into the center of it, the enemies don't spawn, so you can come over to your peddlers and chests and stuff first. But we're just gonna hold this and just watch. Take a step back. This is the power of meteors. Yeah, you're an invulnerable little dude. Third wave, like it's killing them before they can even jump down. I should be Firefox right now. I just shapeshift. That way I'm matching. I didn't even think about that. Again, we are on Reincarnation level 10, the most difficult level in the game, the hardest difficulty in the game. and we're just standing still, and we beat an entire room. Make sure when you go to these peddlers that you're looking for upgrades. Getting another meteor is nice, but you're going to be looking for upgrades. We're looking for charge talismans. There's one. This is an interesting one for talisman damage. Gain 1 power boost stack. Each stack will increase final damage from talisman or power gem by 30%, lasting 5 seconds, up to 5 stacks for each power gem. So at first you might be like, 30% doesn't feel like a lot, but on a talisman like the charge talisman, which is going off every second, that means you're going to be able to keep it at almost 120% all the time. Let me take that just to show it and get our charge talisman. If you didn't notice before, whenever you're getting enough duplicates to get an upgrade, you'll see the little green arrow over there. So we get that, we go to purple, and now I can get rid of this crystal shield and put on power boost, and that's going to do more damage than just putting on another meteor because of the way this stacks. It'll be over 120% talisman damage. I'm not going to get all the way to the part where we get a legendary because I got other things to show you, but we can at least kill this elite, right? I didn't even get my golden goblet. We're just going to walk forward. And you can see the number of charges we have down here. See how it's going between 5 and 4 stacks? So when it's at 5, we're going to have 150% talisman damage. And whenever it's at 4 stacks, it's 120%. So by having one of these on to these fast acting talismans, you're going to be doing so much. All right, this elite kind of stepped into the wrong neighborhood. There's this electric barrel that's locking him down right now. And now he's done. Easy. So there you go. If you're having any problems with getting through reincarnation, the charge setup, incredibly good for that. I don't think your mileage will vary at all. Maybe you'll accidentally get killed because you fell asleep at the wheel, but I can't really blame you for that. Moving on, we're going to do another one that's like a guaranteed win. I'm sure if you've looked up anything on how to get easy wins in Season 5 of Gunfire Reborn, you've probably seen the Shadow Fade Talisman come up. Shadow Fade was a new ability they brought into the last season, which basically lets you stealth. When you come out of stealth, you do extra damage, and this increases that extra damage by even more when you do it. The problem is that there are a lot of ways to do damage without shooting or using skills. So what we're gonna do is put on Crystal Shield, Emergency Recovery, and we're gonna have Dash set on here, but we're immediately gonna get that extra slot. If you don't have extra slot, that's just because it unlocks down here at level 20 of the season. I would call it the season pass, the battle pass, but it's just seasonal experience that you get from playing the game. Once you get to 20, then you get extra slot and you'll be cruising. Let's do the best character, I think, for the passive damage build, which is Momo. Anything that has to do with Ink Domain, you're gonna want to do extra of that with Momo doing this build. So again, I am going to grab extra slot. With extra slot, we can get rid of the dash requirement and put in auto charge. And now we have so many things. We got an extra slot in here, and every 4 seconds, we're going to trigger all of this, including entering the Shadow Fade state. And here's what we're going to do. You're just going to walk. You're going on a brisk walk. Your meteors will automatically drop down and kill things. You might have to look out for AoE circles that automatically trigger. You can play through almost the entire game without anyone aggroing on you. And the more meteors you get, the more stuff you get, the better. And I'm only starting out on the Shadow Fade Talisman to show you how this works, but it is possible at the peddlers for talismans to just outright buy Shadow Fade. So if you want to get the Meteor Talisman and then put Shadow Fade on that and then get all the benefits from using the Meteor Talisman while doing the pacifist run, then you could absolutely do that. You don't have to use the Shadow Fade Talisman, especially since we aren't really taking the benefits of this. I just thought I would show you from the get-go you can already have so much damage, so much safety and damage. If I could get another meteor, that'd be pretty good. Which I guess as long as I'm using a lot of meteor in these examples, you should know that if you get a meteor talisman, it does give you an extra use of meteor. And if you upgrade it to purple, then you will get a purple meteor use. And then of course, if you upgrade a meteor talisman to legendary, you'll get a legendary meteor. So if you're not even using the meteor talisman, but you've already got one leveled up and maybe you're done re-rolling it in the future, you could start stacking up meteors if you want to get legendary power gems in there. I do feel like thunder is also pretty useful, and if you have a lot of HP, the corrosive slash that you get from the vitality or just purchasing it outright could also be good. But clearly, if you're looking for a very easy, low stakes, simple walk through Gunfire Reborn, just put on good old Shadow Fade Talisman with an easy condition like dash or auto trigger and just walk around. The only time you have to really concern yourself with dropping out of it is during boss and elite fights. Sometimes the AI will get a little messed up if you don't drop out. In that case, use something just as the cooldown is about to come off. I'm gonna wait until it's almost at the very end here. Shoot, and then as soon as that circle goes down, it's right back up again. Easy peasy. Ink domain is considered blank domain. That's what we're looking for. As long as you're doing meteors, thunders, and corrosive slashes, elemental boost isn't terrible either. So one of the best things about the Shadow Fade Talisman is that as it upgrades, it gets extra slots on it. So all of these are gonna trigger all the time. So we get our extra meteor on there, get rid of the restore spirit, and get an elemental boost. Oh yeah, talking to NPCs does drop you out of Shadow Fade, so be careful about that. Using a chest, talking to an NPC, interacting with the golden goblet, not that that should ever matter. But there we go, we got 2 sets of meteors dropping down now. The bluff is really good because it says 25% damage dealt. It doesn't say skill damage or weapon damage, that is total damage. So that does affect talisman damage. So that's great. Literally do not see it coming. They never see it coming. If you wanted to be a little fancier, you could like throw out your secondary just as you're about to drop out of Shadow Fade. Throw out a primary, a weapon shot, whatever it is that your run might benefit most from. And then that way you can trigger the AI just a little bit, but mostly stay in your Shadow Fade state. There we go. That is the Shadow Fade run. That should get you pretty much a guaranteed win. Let's talk about a couple of these talismans because I've seen people on the subreddit complaining that they don't understand how they work. A few of these are a little bit awkward in their explanation, so let me explain precisely. Whenever you have a 2-condition talisman, this will not activate the power gems until both conditions are met. You need to have both conditions met and then all the gems activate. Then the talisman goes on cooldown, and after that, it will check to see if the conditions have been met again. You need to have both of them hit, otherwise it won't activate. It doesn't matter if you activate the same one twice, you need both conditions met. A lot of people wonder what the Eternal Talisman's about. Reduce the remaining talisman cooldown by 1 second per condition triggered, 2-second minimum. If you notice, this guy has a whopping 18-second cooldown. So if you want to get this down, you're going to need to be able to hit conditions super fast. Really, really fast. On Legendary, it's 12 seconds, so you've already shaved off 6. But you'll also have a lot more spots. So if you can get this to Legendary and you can trigger 2 conditions pretty quick, you can get that down. But in my experience, I would rather go with one of the other mini slotted power gem talismans than the Eternal one, because having to trigger the condition that many times to get the cooldown to a manageable level is difficult. There are some things that synergize well, like shoot and hit, or dash and movement, secondary use and skill damage, etc., etc. So essentially, you're going to take the Eternal Talisman so that you can have one really big spike in the hopes that you can reduce the cooldown fast enough to hit the next spike. But if you're not able to reliably hit that condition, then any of these other ones that also have a large number of spots on them is gonna do you better. I did see someone ask about the Rattler Talisman. If conditions are triggered twice, the power gem in the last slot will be triggered once. Basically just means that this has a 4-second cooldown. If you trigger the condition before that cooldown goes off, then it will automatically set off this last power gem. So if you want to put in one strong attack, something that buffs things, and you want to make sure that you maintain those stacks, then the Rattler and putting that on the end is pretty good. I want to show you what I think is one of the most powerful things I've seen on here. Up to 2 empty power gem slots are considered as having a second slot's power gem inlaid. What this means is that the second slot on your gem, power gem 2 here, is going to be copied for any blank spots, or up to 2, that is. If you get that thing, you just need to get 1 legendary gem, and then you have 2 more copies of it. The power spike you get from that affix is incredible. I haven't had a run that didn't immediately launch from that. This one can also be good if you're doing lots of talisman damage. Get a stack for each Thunder, Meteor, and Corrosive Slash equipped. Each stack increases total damage from talisman and power gem by 8.7%. This number, even though you will see copies of things between, doesn't seem to be hard set. This might be a range between like 7 and 10%, and I have no idea what the ranges are, but even though this is an exclusive orange inscription, it isn't a set number. They are still in ranges. This one doing talisman cooldown after triggering power gem 15 times up to -30% and resets at next stage. In my experience, as long as you want to get any amount of cooldown for your talisman, these are fantastic. And the higher they get on the rarity, the better they'll be. With that, I'm going to give you all the bird, and I'm going to head out of here. Hopefully that helps you understand a little bit. Love the change to the flowing light. Love the change to the bone dragon. The extra stuff on talismans is ridiculous. We didn't need it, but now that I have it, I love it. I'm going to sit here and farm out more talismans just to see what I could bring to the table here to make them even more powerful than they were before. And I'm interested to see what they bring next. But until then, remember to take care of yourselves and take care of those around you. Bye-bye.